Hi, it's Mike Panja, and today we're going to make a real, genuine chocolate mousse. Now, you can find many recipes online and in cookbooks for quick versions, quick and dirty, more or less. This isn't that. This is the real version, the very rich, very involved, somewhat sophisticated chocolate mousse. As you go through it, if it's too much for you, you don't have to make it. But you should enjoy watching it anyway and seeing how it's done. And maybe when you feel you're up to it, your skills have improved, your morale is up, you're smiling and feeling good, maybe one day you'll try it. Now, I have to give credit to Elise Bauer from Simply Recipes. She's the originator, well, not really the originator, we'll get to that in a second. She's the one that supplied the initial recipe for me to start with. She acknowledges herself that she got it from Thomas Keller's Borchon cookbook. So, it's been passed along from generation to generation. Now I have it, and I'd like to show it to you and share it with you. Here are the ingredients you'll need to make our chocolate mousse. Besides these ingredients, you'll also need a double boiler. Although I suppose if you have very low heat available on your stovetop and a heat dissipator and a heavy bottom saucepan, you might be able to make it work. Here are the step-by-step instructions you'll need to make this delicious dessert. It also calls for some brewed espresso coffee, which I'll address in a minute. Since this recipe calls for some brewed espresso coffee, just a little bit, I thought it would be fair for me to show you how I do my espresso. You don't have to do it this way. However you can produce a good cup of brewed espresso is fine with me. Whether you have a stovetop espresso pot like I have here, or a fancy espresso machine with an eagle on the front that costs thousands of dollars, or none of the above. If you have none of the above, you can go down to your local coffee shop and get an espresso to go, and that'll work fine. So here we go. Here's how we're going to do it. First thing is I've got some freshly ground fine espresso coffee, which I'm going to put into the container that you'll see that has the strainer on top. Tamp it down lightly. Okay. Then the strainer part goes on top of it, screws onto it. By the way, this coffee maker has been in my family for many, many years. Probably, I don't know if they made them 50 years ago, but it's possible it's 50 years old or more. 75 years old, probably. Okay, now that's done. Next step is the boiling water. Now this device is meant to go on the stove top. You heat the water to boiling, then you turn it over and so on. I cheat a little bit. I boil the water and put it directly in here. The water goes in the section that looks like a cup, and it has a rim around it in the metal, so you go right up to there. Next step is to take the part you put the coffee into and slide it into the water. Careful, it's hot. Okay. Now, the part that looks like a little pitcher goes on top of that, handle to handle. Okay, now we get a little bit tricky. So what you do is you flip it over carefully. And now the hot water, which is now on the top, can go through the grounds, which are at the bottom of it, and down into the pot section. The first step is to beat 1 cup of heavy cream to soft peaks. Our soft peaks are forming. Time to chill. I'm using the large holes on a box grater to grate our chocolate. Or if you have one and you prefer, you can use a food processor to grate the chocolate. Set up your double boiler over moderate heat. Or you can try a heat diffuser with a heavy bottom saucepan over very low heat. Now it's time to use the double boiler. And the order that we put these ingredients in is important. So first thing that'll happen is we're going to put the butter in. We're going to wait for that to melt. Once the butter is melted, stir in the hot espresso coffee. Now we want to put in the chocolate and stir it until it's smooth. Once it's smooth, we can take it off the heat, and we want it to cool down to just warm. Now we'll need to separate the whites from the yolks of 3 eggs. Now we'll beat the egg whites until they start to stiffen. Then we'll add the sugar. I think that counts as stiffened. You know, I said we could use 2.5 tablespoons of sugar, but I'm gonna change it slightly. I'm gonna go for the full 3 tablespoons because the unsweetened chocolate I'm using is so bitter that I'm afraid the results are gonna be too bitter. So we're using 3 tablespoons of sugar. Stir that in. And now we're going to continue to beat the egg whites until they form peaks. Now we'll want to beat until we get stiff peaks. The chocolate has cooled down to just warm, so it's time to mix in the egg yolks. I'm going to transfer the chocolate to a larger bowl. Now I'm going to retrieve the whipped cream from the refrigerator where we put it to chill earlier and mix about 1/3 of it in with the chocolate. Now the egg whites. And finally, the rest of the whipped cream. Now I'm going to put them in their serving glasses. I'm using a parfait glass type thing, which I think is appropriate for this dish. Now into the fridge they go. To chill, we want to give them at least 8 hours. Ta-da! Time to retrieve our mousses. I guess they're not mice, mousses. I'm going to dress these for serving with a little bit of confectioner's sugar, powdered sugar on top, and then I'll put some whipped cream on them. For the whipped cream, I'm using a pastry bag with a French star, which makes a nice ripples in the whipped cream. Now I have some instant espresso coffee, which I'm going to just take the slightest pinch and mark the whipped cream with it, just slightly, just for fun. Here they are, light, fluffy, and flavorful. Well, that was an adventure. I hope you're going to make it, and if you do, I'd really appreciate hearing about it in the comments. And remember, the comments aren't just for me. They're for everybody that comes to this channel. So if you have any tips or suggestions or ideas or comments on the recipes, it'd really be great to share it. Here goes my duck squeaking. You hear him in the background? Pee-wee, quiet down. Come on, we're talking here. Well, thanks for watching. I always appreciate it when you come back for more. And I look forward to seeing you again next time.